Written accounts of extraterrestrial encounters have been known to exist in old mythological tales from all around the world, all across human history. Knowing this, could it be possible that one of the oldest known biblical scriptures holds evidence of such an encounter that is verifiable in the modern day? Here at Unexplained Mysteries, we believe there is profound evidence of such encounters in the lost biblical text known as the Book of Enoch. So today, we will be going over these strange extraterrestrial encounters and learn what they could mean for humanity's eventual contact with extraterrestrial life. Thank you for watching. What many people are not aware of is that the modern-day Christian Bible is actually an incomplete collection of religious text that had been gathered from a variety of Judaist holy scriptures that had been circulating throughout the world during the 4th century. During this time, religious scholars handpicked which religious texts were believed to have been canonical scriptures for the Judaist religion and quickly rejected any texts or scriptures that seemed to put into question the viability of the religion or featured stories that made mention of other godlike beings. Only these arbitrarily chosen hand-picked texts would make up the Christian Bible, despite references within these texts to rejected non-canonical tales that heavily influence and detail information found throughout the Christian Bible. One such text, now known as the Lost Book of the Bible, is that of the ancient religious scripture known as the Book of Enoch. Originally rejected for speaking of other powerful beings, known as the Watchers, the Book of Enoch and the story of Enoch is referenced several times throughout a number of different books in the Bible, such as Genesis, Hebrews, Jude, and many others. So what were the Watchers, and why did this lead to the rejection of the story from the canonical texts? According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were fallen angels that began teaching humans advanced technologies and magic. It is through these Watchers that Enoch experienced his visions that featured technologies comparable to the modern-day understanding of spacecraft. In fact, the Book of Enoch opens its texts with a direct explanation to the future, claiming that people in the time of Enoch will not be able to understand his visions of technology, and it will only be understood by humans in the distant future, most likely referring to humans in the modern day with comparable technologies. The text says, "There was a righteous man whose eyes were opened by the Lord, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens, which the angels showed to me. And I heard everything from them, and I understood what I saw, but not for this generation, but for a distant generation that will come." Shortly after this statement, Enoch talks through his journey ascending into the sky and seeing the heavens firsthand. His account is written as follows: "Behold, clouds called me in the vision, and mist called me, and the path of the stars, and flashes of lightning, hastened me and drove me. And in the vision winds caused me to fly, and hastened me, and lifted me up into the sky. And I proceeded until I came near a wall which was made of hailstones, and a tongue of fire surrounded it, and it began to make me afraid." Could this passage found in the Book of Enoch be evidence of advanced alien craft witnessed by early man? Interestingly enough, Enoch describes that he ascended into a cloud that was hovering above him. This occurred after he saw flashes of lightning, an obvious reference to electricity, and then suddenly was lifted up into the sky by winds that began to surround him, which directly matches modern-day alien abduction stories of being lifted into the sky in a beam of light. When he entered the cloud, Enoch described tongues of fire, which seem eerily similar to the red and orange lights commonly seen on modern-day sightings of extraterrestrial craft. Shortly after his abduction, Enoch talks about how the Watchers wished to teach him about the stars, and that the cloud they resided in began venturing out into deep space as Enoch recorded what he saw, trying to make sense of what he was witnessing. Enoch also gives accurate descriptions of what the stars look like when seen up close in space by describing his journey in the following statement: "And beyond this chasm I saw a place, and it had neither the sky above it nor the foundation of earth below it. There was no water on it, and no birds, but it was a desert place. And a terrible thing I saw there, 7 stars like great burning mountains." If you were a primitive human being with no way to compare the deep endless darkness of space, would this fit an accurate description of what you witnessed? Interestingly enough, Enoch describes the stars as being much larger in person, something not traditionally known at the time, with ancient man believing that stars were nothing more than tiny lights that lit up the night sky. However, Enoch directly compares the stars to great burning mountains. If this experience fails to provide substantial proof as to Enoch travelling through the stars with the almost godlike watchers, Enoch continues to explain what sounds almost like a black hole swallowing a dying star. In the scripture the book of Enoch describes, "And from there I went to another place, more terrible than this, and I saw a terrible thing. There was a great fire there, which burned and blazed, and the place had a cleft reaching into the abyss, full of great pillars of fire, which were made to fall. Neither its extent nor its size could I see, nor could I see its source." Although most people can hardly imagine what a black hole would look like in person, a star falling into an abyss that had no bottom and of size that could not be seen with no source is one of the most accurate descriptions someone could give for a singularity. The description of a cleft reaching into the abyss is commonly how stars are swallowed, in large arcing orbits with long pillars of fire reaching in. When Enoch then began to show that he was terrified of the abyss, the watchers explained that he should not be scared, and then went on to elaborate that the black hole was nothing more than a prison for angels. Although this might sound to be more religious than scientific, it was believed in the scripture that angels were made from light, making the exact translation of the passage to mean that the abyss was a prison of which light could never escape. The exact passage in the book states, "He answered me and said to me, 'Enoch, why do you have such fear and terror because of this terrible place and before this pain?' And he said to me, 'This place is the prison of the angels, and there they will be held forever.'" Shortly after the watchers explain the black hole to Enoch and how it functions, they take him to see how the sun works and how the sky of the earth is lit up. In it, Enoch describes the following passage. "And from there I went to another place, towards the west, to the ends of the earth. And I saw a fire that burned and ran, without resting or ceasing from running, by day or by night, but continued in exactly the same way. And I asked, saying, 'What is this which has no rest?' Then Raguel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me and said to me, 'This burning fire, whose course you saw towards the west, is the fire of all the lights of the sky.'" Interestingly enough, Enoch believed that the sun would rest, referencing the day and night cycle, but was surprised to see that the burning never stopped and never moved. When he inquired as to its cause, one of the watchers described that the burning light was the light people see rising in the east and setting in the west, that lights up the entirety of the sky. Does this point to evidence that Enoch was aware that rather than the sun orbiting the earth, he witnessed that the earth orbited the sun when he writes that the light continued in exactly the same way? Not only does this lend credence to the sightings made by Enoch when studying alongside the watchers that brought him through the sky in a cloud, but it also shows that Enoch possessed advanced information that humanity would not be able to learn until the time of Galileo and Copernicus. However, even more incredible than these accounts are the details that the Book of Enoch provides when describing a limitation of the universe that humanity has only recently uncovered. According to Enoch, his journey with the Watchers only lasted about 2 weeks. However, when Enoch returned to the earth, he remarked that more than 300 years had passed, providing direct evidence of an experience of time dilation, a recently discovered property on the relativity of space and time. In fact, multiple passages of the Bible also make reference to this strange discovery, such as chapter 5, verse 22 of the book of Genesis, that says, "Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah 300 years and had other sons and daughters." How would it have been possible for a human being to have lived for 300 years during ancient times? Additionally, the end to Enoch's story tells that he continued his travels with the Watchers and is still alive in the modern day. In the book of Hebrews chapter 7, the Bible states, "By faith Enoch was taken up so that he could not see death, and he was not found because God had taken him." Could this mean that Enoch is still traveling through the stars and has survived up into the modern day due to time dilation? With the overwhelming details, evidence, witness encounters, and impossible parallels with modern-day understanding, this could more than possibly be the case. But what do you think of this unexplainable account from the Book of Enoch that seems to tell vivid descriptions of extraterrestrial life, alien craft, objects in deep space, and demonstrate an unknown knowledge of time dilation? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. And once again, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.